So I finished season 2 of Oshinoko last night, and obviously I didn't have this account when I watched season 1 of Oshinoko. So I want to do this a little different, and I just want to talk about like the things that I really like about Oshinoko. One of the things I love the most about Oshinoko is the way that they cover how badly artists are treated by not only their fans but the industries that are supposed to serve them. So specifically, I want to cover, of course, idols, actors, and mangaka. So from the beginning, when we get Ai's story, with Ai, right, we are exploring like that dangers of that parasocial relationship that idols are subject to by their fans. And of course, we've seen across other media how dangerous those parasocial relationships are. Very famously, Perfect Blue gets into that. And it's not something that is only experienced in Japan. Obviously, there's a very clear and defined history of parasocial relationships killing, celebrities and different artists over a history from America and UK and like all sorts of places where this happens. And basically, if you reach a certain level of celebrity, even YouTubers are at risk, like anybody's at risk once they hit a certain level of fame where people just become so obsessive and, they become like crazy fans of you. And with idols, it's very scary because there's also like a puritanical thing behind it where you can't date. You have to be very careful of your online presence now with the rise of social media. You can't be caught doing certain things. You can't be caught saying certain things. And it's actually like, it's so scary. It's so like insane for idols. And with Ai, all she wanted to do was her best by her fans. And, whether she was going to have kids or date somebody, it shouldn't be anybody's business. And idol culture is really disgusting for that. And I don't abide by that. And I think Aqua's whole thing, Aqua wanting revenge is like 100%. He's so in the right for that regardless. And that's one of my favorite things about Oshinoko, obviously, that it's a revenge story, but also that it's highlighting how disgusting having a parasocial relationship with somebody you don't know to that level is. And of course, how disgusting whoever their father is, which I only caught a glimpse of him now at this point at the end of season 2 for setting that up. But the next thing I want to talk about is actors, and specifically when they cover the reality dating thing in the midpoint of season 1. I used to watch Terrace House. I was an avid watcher of Terrace House. I was a huge fan of Terrace House. And if you don't know, that's what the reality dating show thing is referring to in season 1, that it's referring to a situation that happened in the last season of Terrace House that aired, where one of the girls that was on the show, they took an argument, a very light little disagreement that she had with one of the girls, and the producers skewed the footage to make it seem more than what it was, and she got flamed so badly online that she took her life. And that was Hana Kimura, and I really loved her. She was a wrestler, and I was devastated with her death. I haven't watched any sort of Japanese dating or reality show since then. I'm even just thinking about it, like I feel really sad about it. I don't like that happened, like obviously. And what's really messed up about that is that even after she passed, all the people online that pushed her to do it and all of that, all they had to say was, "And look, that idiot actually did it." Those are the kind of people that pushed her to do it. That's the level of human beings, of scum, that talked her into doing it. So in Oshinoko, when they cover it, obviously Aqua prevents Akane from going all the way, despite how badly she was bullied. And in real life, Hana Kimura's mother, she didn't really like that they covered that. But the thing is, I understand from the standpoint that it wasn't right maybe to cover it in that sense, to exploit it, to turn it into entertainment. But on the one hand, if nobody spoke about it, nobody was going to say anything about it, period. And I think something needed to be said because there's too much meekness in Japanese culture. I mean, the police aren't going to pursue those accounts. Nobody's going to be held responsible for her death. And it's not fair. And I think if somebody has to say something, then fine, let it be some anime. Like, it's just upsetting. And I think if somebody has to say something, then fine. And I'm like, on the one hand, sure, it's a little bit disrespectful, but at least something is said in her defense for her sake. It's a fantasy where she got saved. So then, the last thing I want to say is something from this season where they talk about mangaka. So they have this girl where they're adapting her manga into a screenplay. And, obviously she didn't like what they were doing and she wanted to rewrite the screenplay herself. She was like, I'll do it myself. And when they go to check on her, obviously she's extremely stressed because she's working on the manga. She's got weekly deadlines and she's very, very stressed. She's very tired. And they talk about how she's stressed and tired, not only because of the deadlines, but one of the things in the manga industry that's not, brought up enough, in my opinion, is that one of the things that an editor must try to do is that if a manga is very popular, they got to do everything in their power to make sure that it doesn't stop running. And, fans these days, specifically of certain manga, one that finished running and one that's still running, it's crazy the audacity of fans to criticize every chapter that comes out, have something to say when, your favorite manga author probably wanted to end the series a certain way a long time ago, and the editor's just not letting them because, this manga's popular and it's making us money and we can't let you end it. There's very few mangaka that get to end their manga where they want to end it. Most of them are being yes to death or please do one more, and most Japanese culture is like, you're not really in a position to stand up for yourself in most cases, because if you stand up for yourself, if you end your manga, you're making people lose their jobs. You're gonna make us lose money. It's an inconvenience. It's not good. So it's very difficult. And they talk about how this girl is basically being used and abused to keep writing this manga series, and she is wrecking her mental health. She's wrecking her bodily health. Mangaka don't live very long lives. Statistically, a lot of them very rarely make it into their 70s. Look at Akira Toriyama. He made it to 66, I think. That's the reality of it. And Oshi no Ko is the only series I see that's touching on these very difficult subjects. And yeah, I know that there's something that's coming up because I've had the manga spoiled for me, but I'm also doing anime only, and I'm not going to talk about that because, first of all, from what I understand, also that's been blown out of proportion. And I won't speak about that until it comes to pass in the anime. But Oshi no Ko is out here doing the best to kind of point out all these problems between fandom and industry, and I think it's worth mentioning that it's one of the greatest series to do that right now, and it's really looking out for artists who are the ones that are kind of taking the brunt of both sides, and it's just amazing for that. And for that, I give season 2 a 10 out of 10, and I think when I saw season 1, I think I gave season 1 a 9 or a 9.5 out of 10, so just so you guys know that for your reference.